Hey guys, Pete here with Garnet Technologies, and today we're going to be talking about storing alarms into the 817 programmer, which will then get programmed into your display. One important note about this video, we're going to be talking about the alarm settings for the 815U, 815UD, and the regular 815 spill stops. We have a new spill stop system called the 815 UHP, and the alarm settings are a little bit different. So I'm going to dedicate a specific video to the UHP later on those alarm settings. But the process and the programmer is going to be the same, but the values will be different. So that's the reason for the dedication for the UHP. So today we're going to be talking about storing alarms for the 815U, 815UD, and the regular 815 spill stop systems, which also covers the multi-rack system as well, the 688S or 688D. With no more hesitation, let's jump right into it. It's really important to understand which alarm does what. So there's 4 programmable alarms. Alarm 1 will always be your high-level shutdown alarm. So at this point, that's the value at which you want your pump to shut down or the engine to shut off for the PTO application. So alarm 2 is your audible warning horn. So it's going to be a little bit below your alarm 1 setting, and it's just going to alert the driver that hey, you're getting pretty close, and he can prepare for the shutdown to occur. So alarm 3 is your reset alarm. This is where when a driver loads and the horn sounds and he bypasses alarm 2 and he bypasses alarm 1, this empty rearm alarm 3, when the float travels below it, it will automatically rearm alarm 2 and alarm 1. We'll get into a little more details later on that. So alarm 4 is an auxiliary alarm. This is the alarm that most commonly is used to control the multi-rack system. So the alarm 4 value is a value that's going to equal your alarm 1 high-level shutdown value. So if a driver's loading at a rack, alarm 4 will control the multi-rack system, which will send the rack into bypass at that high-level point. So alarm 4 can also be used as a secondary audible horn. It's not used it's not a common use for it, but the purple wire of the 808P2 is also alarm 4. So it'll at the alarm 4 setting, that purple wire will be grounded, and so you can ground a backup alarm or a light or something like that as a secondary horn value. So let's go back to alarm 1. Alarm 1, I've got a little diagram here. As you can see, alarm 1, this will put a little bit of a visual to it, so it'll help you understand. Alarm 1 again is your high level point. Now as you can see, our alarm 1 setting is not as high as the float wants to go. So there's a reason for this. We drop it down a little bit for safety reasons. So if the reed switches on the inside of the cinder bar fail, you have some room for the next reed switch to engage. So any reed switch engagement above the alarm 1 setting shuts the truck down. So we drop it down about 3 inches. So how do we get that value? First thing you will need to do is get this maximum inch value here. So what you'll do is you'll take your 817 programmer and you will unplug the fiber from the display, plug it into the black fitting at the top. At this point, you're gonna see your 8 bits and your optic power number in your programmer. At that point, what you want to do is you want to hit the bar button. It's kind of the same process as we talked about in earlier videos of setting the offset, getting the empty inch value. This time we're getting the maximum inch value. So you want to raise the float as high as it'll go, all the way up to the top. You've got your fiber plugged in, and with the float all the way at the top, hit the bar button. When you hit that bar button, an inch value is going to pop up in the inch window. This is your maximum inch value. So at that point, what you want to do is drop it down 3 inches. So for an example, let's say that you raise the float all the way up, you plug the fiber into the programmer, you hit the bar button, and it gave you 82.00 inches. At that point, what you want to do is, using your inches arrows, drop it down 3 inches. So go from 82.00 to 79.00. And then that value that is linked to that, the barrel value linked to that inch value, is the maximum that you would want to store alarm 1. So let's talk through that a little bit more into detail. So since I don't have a cinder bar plugged in and hitting the bar button, I'm going to use the example of 82 inches. So I'm going to inch up to 82 inches. So I've got 82.00 inches. That's my maximum inch value. So obviously, my calibration here says 203.2. That's a pretty high value. So I'm going to drop it down now 3 inches to 79 inches. Using my inches arrows, I'm going to drop it down to 79 inches. Now it shows 198.0. So this is my new alarm 1 value, the maximum I want to store alarm 1. Most of the time, it won't be this high. On a lot of 200 barrel trailers, 195 is typically the alarm settings. In different states, they may have different weight regulations, so you may be overweight using this method, but at that point you can store alarm 1 at a lower value. So for this example, we're going to store alarm 1 at 198. So the way I'm going to do that, it's really simple, and the process is the same whether you're storing alarm 1, 2, 3, or 4. You're going to hit the alarm shutdown button. It's the white letter key there. Excuse me. An important note, the red letter function is startup. You will never use the startup function. You're always going to store your alarms in shutdown. And you'll see when I hit the alarm shutdown button, the programmer now is going to ask me which alarm do I want to store this value at. This is our high-level shutdown alarm, so that's alarm number 1. So I'm going to press the number 1 key, and it's going to say storing alarm 1. When it is finished, what you will see is the value 198.0 SD. You always want to make sure that your alarms are set in SD. If they're in SU, it's not going to work properly, and it's going to cause you some problems. So now let's talk about alarm 2. Alarm 2 is a value that's just below alarm 1. So on here I have 10 to 15 barrels. Really, this is a value depending on how much time you want to give the driver. So I'm gonna go with 15 barrels, give or take. So again, the process is still the same. I'm going to use my inches arrows to get to the value in the calibration side that I want to store alarm 2 at. So in this case, it's going to be right around 185. So I'm going to use my inches arrows. I'm going to drop it down 183.7. There we go. That's probably a pretty good number. So again, the process is the same. I've got the value I want to store on my calibration side. I'm going to hit the alarm shutdown button. and it's going to ask me which alarm I want to store. I want to store it as alarm 2. As soon as I hit 2, it's going to say storing alarm 2 and start cycling through. Once it's completed, you'll see that value pop up, and again with SD. So let's talk about alarm 3. Alarm 3, again, is the empty rearm value. So here, I have it noted as 5 inches above your empty inch value. This is a pretty high amount, so really the key to storing alarm 3 is you want to make sure alarm 3 is stored high enough to where the float can fully surpass that alarm point. If the alarm 3 setting was stored too low, the float may not reach completely past that alarm setting, which at that point you won't be able to rearm alarm 2 or alarm 1. So a few barrels above or 5 inches above your empty reading or empty inch value is a good setting. So in this case, I already know my empty inch value, which was 15.00 inches. I've already set my offset. So I'm going to, again, use my inches arrows to go all the way down to my empty inch value, which the empty reading on that was 1.9 barrels. So there I am there. Now, again, alarm 3 needs to be above this point. This is the lowest reading that you'll read on the trailer. So I'm going to pull it up about 5 inches. So I'm going to go to the 20-inch mark. (20 inches, 8.7 barrels. So I've got that value there. I'm going to hit the alarm shutdown button, and then it's going to ask me again which alarm. This is going to be alarm 3. Press 3, storing alarm 3, and then there you go. Alarm 3 pops up there. So alarm 4 is, again, if you have a multi-rack system, you want to store alarm 4 at the same value as alarm 1. Sorry about that. Or if you're going to use alarm 4 for an auxiliary alarm, again, you just want to use the inches arrows to get to the value at which you want to store, and then do the alarm shutdown, and then press number 4. So at that point, these 3 alarms, which are for the spill stop system, for the 815U, UD, or 815, alarm 1, 2, and 3 will control the spill stop. So with that being stored in the programmer, you are now ready to plug your ribbon cable into the display and program the display with those alarm settings. With that being said, setting the alarms is really pretty easy. You just need to know some information. You need to know your empty inch value. You need to know your maximum inch value. And then at that point, you can safely store your alarms. So if you choose to store an alarm 1 shutdown higher than what I've recommended, then you are taking a big risk. We do not recommend any values be stored higher than the process that I've listed here. So because you risk spilling at that point. So the highest you ever want to set alarm 1 is 3 inches below your maximum inch value. So the way the Garnet system is designed, at any point, if there's a failure in the bar, if the bar stops sending a signal, everything defaults to an open circuit, which causes a shutdown. And lets the driver know that something is wrong, it needs to be fixed. Whether the bar fails, the fiber fails, the display, your wiring, a relay, something like that. If something fails, it will default to an open position on the Garnet side. So in future videos, we'll talk about some diagnostics of the spill stop and its features. So look forward to check back with us again here soon, and you will you'll be able to see those videos and a little bit on installation. So if you have any questions about how to store the alarms, email me at pete@garnettechnologiesinc.com, and at that point I can send you some information that'll help you out. So again, if you have any questions, email me, and I'll get to them. That's usually the best way to do it, is by email. If you need to call. I always encourage a call too. So guys, have a good day, have a good Christmas, and we look forward to you guys checking out some more videos. Thank you, guys.